The amended criminal complaint was filed on June 30th, 2020. It is case number CR 2220-838 on an amended criminal complaint. There are 2 counts that have been alleged in the criminal complaint. I'm going to summarize those. Count 1 is the allegation of the charge of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. That is a felony under Idaho law, a violation of Idaho Code 182603 and 18-1701. It is punishable by up to 5 years in the state penitentiary and or up to a $10,000 fine. Ms. Daybell, it alleges that the following: the defendants Chad Guy Daybell, Lori Vallow, and or another person or persons on or between the 22nd day of September 2019 and the 9th day of June 2020 in the county of Fremont, state of Idaho, and elsewhere, did willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence in a felony proceeding, inquiry, and or investigation authorized by law, with the intent to prevent it from being so produced, used, and or discovered, to wit, the human remains of J.J. Vallow, which is in violation of Idaho Code Section 182603 and 181701. Overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence, and to affect the objects thereof. One or more of the following overt acts were committed by one or more of the subjects of the conspiracy within Fremont County or elsewhere in the state of Idaho. Number 1, on or about November 26, 2019, Chad Guy Daybell misrepresented the nature of his relationship with Lori Vallow while questioned by the Rexburg Police Department during a lawful investigation regarding the whereabouts of J.J. Vallow. Number 2, on or about November 26, 2019, Chad Guy Daybell contacted Melanie Gibb via phone for the purpose of requesting and or encouraging non-cooperation with law enforcement's lawful investigation regarding the whereabouts of J.J. Vallow. Number 3, on or about November 26, 2019, Lori Vallow provided a false and or misleading physical location of J.J. Vallow to law enforcement during a lawful investigation. Number 4, on or about November 26, 2019, Lori Vallow contacted Melanie Gibb via phone for the purpose of requesting and or encouraging non-cooperation with law enforcement's lawful investigation regarding the whereabouts of J.J. Vallow. Number 5, on or about November 26, 2019, Lori Vallow contacted Melanie Gibb via phone for the purpose of requesting and or encouraging Melanie Gibb to prepare and or present false evidence to law enforcement regarding the whereabouts of J.J. Vallow during a lawful investigation. Number 6, on or between the dates of January 30th, 2020 and June 9th, 2020, Lori Vallow refused and or did fail to comply with a court order to produce her minor child, to wit, J.J. Vallow, to the Rexburg Police Department or the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare in Madison County case number CV 3320-45. Ms. Daybell, do you understand the alleged charge, the allegation, as well as the maximum penalty in count 1?
Yes.
She said yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll move on to count 2 then. Count 2 is also a charge of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence, a felony, a violation of Idaho Code Section 182603 and 181701. It's punishable by that same amount, up to 5 years in the state penitentiary and up to a $10,000 fine. It alleges the defendants Chad Guy Daybell, Lori Vallow, and/or another person or persons on or between the 9th day of September 2019 and the 9th day of June 2020 in the county of Fremont, state of Idaho, and/or elsewhere did willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence in a felony proceeding, inquiry, and/or investigation authorized by law, with the intent to prevent it from being so produced, used, and/or discovered, to wit, the human remains of Tylee Ryan, which is in violation of Idaho Code Sections 182603 and 181701. Overt acts. In furtherance of the conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence, and to affect the objects thereof, one or more of the following overt acts were committed by one or more of the subjects of the conspiracy within Fremont County and/or elsewhere. Number 1, on or about September 9th, 2019, Chad Guy Daybell sent text messages to another for the purpose of disguising the destruction, alteration, and/or concealment of the human remains of Tylee Ryan on his property. Number 2, on or about November 26, 2019, Lori Vallow provided false information to law enforcement regarding Tylee Ryan's attendance at BYU, Idaho, and/or her current housing situation. Number 3, on or between the dates of January 30th, 2020 and June 9th, 2020, Lori Vallow refused and/or did fail to comply with a court order to produce her minor child, Tylee Ryan, to the Rexburg Police Department or the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare in Madison County case number CV 3320-45. Ms. Daybell, do you understand the charge in count 2 and the maximum penalty associated with that?
Yes.
Ms. Daybell, do you understand that those 2 penalties could run consecutively, one after the other, or they could run concurrent, meaning at the same time?
Yes.
Lori Vallow Daybell, might we be getting closer to homicide charges? That's the big overarching question in this huge news today with that amended criminal complaint. And want to bring in now the best team of legal journalists in the business, the creme de la creme of legal journalists, if you will. Court TV Live anchor Ted Rowlands and Court TV Live special contributor Ashley Banfield. Great to have you both with me tonight. First of all, what jumped out at you two in this hearing? Ashley, I'll go to you first, please. Just your reaction to Mrs. Daybell and this new information.
Well, the first thing is I didn't get a good close-up look at her, which we've been able to do at the past. She seemed quite meek and feeble, but that might have been the result of just a low miking situation because she only answered yes, and that was just about all we could hear from her. But I think what really stood out was Colby. Colby had to sit through all this and watch this via, the teleconference. And Colby is her natural son and Tylee's half-brother. They share the same last name, Ryan, but he had a different father. But they have the same mother. And I noticed specifically watching that 4-box that when a few things were mentioned, it affected him. It was very, very subtle. But when the lie to the police officer, the false information to the police officer regarding JJ was outlined, he shook his head slightly. And then when the lie that Lori told the police about where Tylee was, and she lied saying she's at BYU and gave some phony, bogus housing story, I noticed right away a very heavy sigh from Colby. That's the human part of this hearing. The rest of it, there's so much more. I mean, Ted, you and I were poring over these affidavits today, and it just makes your skin crawl.
Most definitely it does. Ted, I want your reaction to this. And just to be really clear, let's clarify this charge. This is 2 counts of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence for both of her kids. Ted Rowlands, your reaction watching this hearing and learning about this new charging, please.
Well, as far as the hearing itself, to Ashley's point, it's hard to get a good look at her. It seemed to me that she was wearing civilian clothes, or at least a sweater, which would be odd that they would allow her to change clothes, or that she would even care, unless she was maybe dressing up for Chad, who's of course is going to be watching this tonight. The other thing that stood out here is that they don't have a lot yet, or they're working towards it. They're not ready to go yet with the murder implications. So this keeps her in jail. It keeps her basically where she is now for as long as they need, really, to continue to build the case. One thing wasn't brought out was bail was mentioned. It seems like they may go back for another try at that to try and get the bail reduced, but maybe not too. It seemed like they were kind of happy to just sit and have this play out. We found out August 11th now will be the next court date. August 10th will be the next court date, a preliminary hearing. But I agree with Ashley. The most compelling thing about this was her son watching with his wife. That was the emotional part of it.
Just heartbreaking, and his sister, one of the victims here. I mean, Cult Mom's reaction, I mean, she was just so meek and mild and so soft-spoken. I want to say, speak up, and aren't you afraid of what's coming next? I mean, if I were her, I'd be shaking sitting there at that table thinking about what these investigators are out there doing. When they laid out this new amended criminal complaint, they also laid out a brand new probable cause statement. And I know, Ashley and Ted, you've both been digging through this. And Ted, I want to go to you first, please, on this one. With the conspiracy, they've got to show those actions, right, that she took in furtherance of the conspiracy. So if you could kind of break that down for us. I know you've been poring over it today. What are the big highlights, takeaways from that? Well,
it's basically they need to implicate her in the same way. This is basically the same thing that Chad Daybell is facing, except for instead of being a party to it, she is she's part of a conspiracy with Chad Daybell and an unnamed conspirator, which we all know is Alex Cox. And the prosecution lists the things that she has done, and there are a number of them, including lying to the police, telephoning Melanie Gibb, telling her to lie to the police about the location of JJ, asking Melanie Gibb to create false evidence, and then informing the Rexburg Police Department that JJ was in Arizona with Melanie Gibb, also falsely informing the Rexburg Police Department that Tylee was attending BYU, Idaho, and living with Lori Vallow. All these are lies, and you can't lie to the police, and this is the repercussions of it. She's now facing these charges, and someone watching this says, "Well, what do you mean? This is no big deal." This keeps her in jail for now, because moving forward, obviously, what they're going for is to implicate her in the murder of her two children.
Absolutely.
And actually, Julie, can I throw one thing in there?
Yes,
just to add to what Ted just said. My sources yesterday, before this thing actually hit the hot off the press, internet, said that the implication is that there's a conspiracy with Alex Cox, right? And I'm reading all through it, but I didn't get there until like second last page. And I actually just found it because it's very small, really little. And it says, due to the facts listed in this affidavit, probable cause exists that Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, and Alex Cox conspired to commit the crime of yada da 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 da. So they actually write it down, but don't expect, obviously, to see any charges for Alex Cox, right?
Right. Boom. There it is in the body of the affidavit. But we know he's dead, so he can't be dragged into a courtroom. But who knows? His body could be. I'm sorry, he was cremated, but yes, we could revisit the autopsy because there were tissues. There are tissues. You informed us of that fact last night, Ashley. This is big. This is big, and I know I don't have to tell you both that. You know this, and you're going to stay with us. Ashley Banfield, Ted Rowland's going to stay right here. Want you to stay put at home. I'm being told we have to squeeze in a break. When we come back, we're going to dig deeper into the new details in that affidavit. They are going to shock you. Trust me, they will shock you. Stay right there. We're back in a moment.